look, my wife has a rule in our family. When somebody's birthday, sing happy birthday. You ready? Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Valerie. Happy birthday to you.
Yes, Joe Biden singing happy birthday to, what was the daughter-in-law of Martin Luther King Jr. and forgot the name. So he just mumbled his way through it because he's an idiot and a buffoon. But today is Joe Biden's birthday. He's 82 years stale. He's neither 82 years young nor 82 years old. He's just 82 years stale. But today is his birthday. Happy birthday, Joe. Now get the hell out of the White House. Hey, Joe, for how long have you not been on our side? Just curious. Remarkable times. Look what the Democrats have done. You know, to tear the country apart, to divide us, to pit us against one another, They like to accuse everybody of being Hitler and fascists and Nazis and a threat to democracy while they dismantle the United States of America in every conceivable way. You know, Barack Obama threatened or promised, if you're a Democrat, the fundamental transformation of America, a fundamentally transforming the United States of America. And he warned us that we all better learn Spanish, too, and teach the kids Spanish because don't worry about millions and millions of illegal aliens. We should just learn to speak Spanish. That's what the Democrats are telling us, because they want to turn this country into the final beep hole country that no one will want to go to. They can end illegal immigration by turning our country into a beep hole.
Instead of worrying about whether immigrants can learn English, they'll learn English. You need to make sure your child can speak Spanish.
Yeah, that's what you need to be sure of, because why would we have to do that? Because they've got a plan for changing America. Barack Obama never claimed that they were going to transform it for the better.
We are 5 days away from fundamentally transforming the United States of America.
And the crowd went wild. The crowd went wild of Democrats. Yeah, we hate America. And they've been teaching it in school as the commies took over like an invading army generations ago now. And that's why we have these people sleeping in their own, you know the rest. It started with Occupy Wall Street, didn't it? Yes, it did. Well, happy Wednesday, happy hump day. A sad day in the Clinton household every weekend when Hillary wakes up face down in a pool of her own dried vomit on the linoleum kitchen floor at one of their many multi-million-dollar mansions because she knows she has to get out of the house because it's hump day and Bill Clinton's got plans. I got a Bill Clinton soundbite for you today, as a matter of fact. Don't have those very often, but Bill Clinton, he sat up and took some nourishment and was being fluffed by pals at CBS Fake News. And he said something pretty funny about Republican and the Republican Party and women. I'll share that with you going forward. And today is Mailbag Day. Mailbag Day here on the Chris Plante Show, and I have my mailbag questions right in front of me. I have not examined all of them yet, but I've made my way through several, just not through everything yet. And with that said, we have a great many stories to get to, as is so often the case, thanks to the Democrat Party, because they are so completely crazy. Oh, also, we were talking about how the Democrats hate the Jews. God, they hate the Jews. Don't they hate the Jews? Why do the Democrats hate the Jews so much? Well, it's all part of calling everybody else Nazis. There's one thing the Nazis are known for. It's hating the Jews. I think that would be fair to say. That's on the short list of what are Nazis known for. Snappy uniforms, by Hugo Boss, armbands, and hating the Jews. I think those are invading every place because the Socialist Workers' Party of Adolf Hitler, they're not the good guys. Let me just say that. And the Democrats today, as they go around calling everybody else all kinds of crazy names, they're doing a pretty good impersonation. They're America-destroying lunatics. But since this came up, and it did come up in the last hour as well, the headline It was night before last. The dangers of anti-Semitism in the United States of America. Chilling new report reveals just how widespread anti-Semitism is at U.S. colleges, which are left-wing institutions almost universally. Democrat Party owned and operated. Lefties, all, with very few exceptions. Take Hillsdale, for example, a pro-American university. Stands out. So the chilling new report reveals just how widespread anti-Semitism is at U.S. colleges, including New York City, because the New York Post is writing the story, and a staggering 72% of college students in the United States feel unwelcome on their own campuses, while more than half say that they have been victims of anti-Semitism, a dismal new report shows. The civil rights group Stop Anti-Semitism issued a report card on how more than 24 university campuses have been addressing hatred against Jews and are reevaluated their 5 other campuses previously graded by the organization. Got to take another look at them because things have gotten worse. 2 New York City schools, Cornell University and the New School. It's the New School. They decided to call it the New School as opposed to the old school or the middle school or anything like that. They were slapped with a shameful F grade. The Cornell University and the New School with an F grade, and the New School certainly a gigantic left-wing hotbed of left-wingism. And isn't that remarkable? 72% of college students in the United States who are Jewish feel unwelcome on campus, whatever campus they may be attending. And 52%, more than half, say they've actually been targeted for, and with anti-Semitic attacks. Now, you may remember, what was her name? Claudine Gay. Her name is Gay. It's one of the reasons she got the job at Harvard University as the president of Harvard University. And there were all these anti-Semitic attacks and a building takeover, and she was testifying before Congress, and she was asked a pretty straightforward question, and she gave a very left-wing, radical, anti-Semitic answer while testifying under oath before Congress.
Dr. Gay, at Harvard, does calling for the genocide of Jews violate Harvard's rules of bullying and harassment, yes or no?
It can be, depending on the context.
What's the context?
Targeted as an individual, at an individual.
It's targeted at Jewish students, Jewish individuals.
She was fired by Harvard University not too long. Claudine Gay was after that congressional testimony, and in large part because of that ridiculous answer. Well, comrade workers, we must see the context of the Jew hatred. And we will have the camps for you. This is your Democrat Party. 72% feel unwelcome on their own campuses in the United States of America because they're Jewish. And that is 99.8% on the Democrat Party. Then there are 4 guys in a truck in Montana somewhere that are also mean when it comes to Jewish people. But it is really a Democrat-driven proposition. There is no doubt about it. And they're driving the train. But they're fundamentally transforming the United States of America. It's what they do. All right, and the illegal aliens and the gangs, the Democrats, they just lost the election, and now they're changing gears, and they're going to attack in all directions now. Let's get to some more Democrat stupidity, because they've given us an overabundance of Democrat stupidity. Yes, they have. All right, let's go to soundbite number 1, which we sometimes do, because it was sort of funny yesterday. They're attacking all of President Trump's picks for cabinet positions. Pete Hegseth, a decorated Army vet, served in Iraq and Afghanistan and Guantanamo Bay, to make him kind of the regular guy. Now he's a news anchor at Fox News. And so let's make him Secretary of Defense. See if he can shake stuff up with the woke and the crazy and the transgender. Maybe putting a regular guy in there, a soldier who hasn't been corrupted by it all, and wants to bring some normal American values. You may recall that at the Chris Plant store, we have excellent T-shirts and coffee mugs that say quite simply and elegantly, remember normal. Before it's completely gone, let's try to save normal together. We still have to get to the transgender member of the House of Representatives, and the Democrats want to burn the Capitol down to make sure that he can use the ladies' room or whatever it is that they want to do because of their myriad mental afflictions. Extraordinary stuff. But let's go because yesterday they got a TV show called The View. And The View is they have Sunny and Joy and Happy and Mirth. They have all these idiot people who are miserably unhappy people with happy names. And they say crazy stuff. And they've been attacking Matt Gaetz. President Trump, he just left the House of Representatives when he was named by President Trump as his pick to be Attorney General. Now, here's a guy who was targeted by the Justice Department, a corrupt Justice Department under Merrick Garland, who was investigated for well over a year, looking at allegations that he was going to cocaine parties in Florida, and a 17-year-old young woman was involved, a girl underage, and they spilled it out to the news media all over the place and got 10,000 headlines. And then they said, we don't have any witnesses to speak of here. And we had 2 witnesses, but we don't believe anything they're saying. And it turns out they're being paid by a crooked, convicted felon to say what they're saying. So the crooked Justice Department dropped the case against Matt Gaetz. The House of Representatives said, well, we'll investigate it now. They've got the same 2 witnesses that the Justice Department said are completely unreliable and they wouldn't trust him with a lunch order. But never mind that. So on The View, which is an ABC News program, believe it or not, and they had to go on yesterday, and Whoopi was on there looking like something from a Star Trek episode as usual, and they got this woman, Sunny. They've got Joy and Sunny and Whoopi, and they're all very unhappy, and they had, it looked like she had a gun to her head. Sunny Hostin, they had Sunny Hostin read a message from the legal department at ABC News, not apologizing for all the slander that they've hurled at Congressman Matt Gaetz, who, as I've said before, I've met personally, had him on my show on Newsmax, and I like him personally. He's a fun guy. You're out having a beer with Matt Gaetz, he'd be fun to hang out with. He's funny. He tells jokes, and he's good. But here's what Sunny Hostin was forced to read, and it looks like a hostage video. It looks like she's being held by ISIS. It really does. She looks terrified. And the gang around her, a bunch of creeps that they are, sitting there nervously waiting for the note from the legal department to be finished.
Sunny, you have a legal note.
I do have a legal note. Thank you, Whoopi. Matt Gaetz has long denied all allegations, calling the claims, quote, invented, and saying in a statement to ABC News that this false smear following a 3-year criminal investigation should be viewed with great skepticism, that DOJ investigation was closed with no charges being brought.
We'll be right back.
They're bitter and resentful that a little bit of reality had to enter their demented world for just a moment at gunpoint from the legal department, from the network, because those are the ones that, pay them $8 million a year or whatever they get, and it's probably a pretty good estimation. And they lie and they smear and they lie and they smear, and then every now and then, and we'll be right, and they're all bitter, snarling, like the mental cases that they clearly are. Just amazing. Could the fate of America's children be tied to the fate of our nation? Why, of course it could. Like the Democrat abortionists and the lives of helpless unborn babies. Every day the left seems determined to snuff out everything else. But a great organization called Preborn stands as a beacon of light and hope for the most defenseless among us, preborn babies. Every day, Preborn's network of clinics helps to rescue, on average, more than 200 unborn babies while surrounding the expectant mothers with love and with God, offering them free ultrasounds. Because it turns out witnessing the miracle of life, growing inside of you, makes women think, hey, gosh, maybe I should let my child grow up and be successful and grow old. Will you join Preborn in helping to protect the least among us for just $28? Those are American dollars. You can sponsor an ultrasound and give a mother the chance to choose life, not only for her baby, but for herself. An ultrasound can double a baby's chance of living a long, happy, and prosperous life. To donate securely, $28. Come on, dial pound 250. Dial pound 250 and say the keyword baby when prompted. That's pound 250 on your phone, and the keyword is baby. Or you go to preborn.com/plant on Al Gore's amazing internet. That's preborn.com/PLANTE. Yes, sir. Yeah, we're being forced by the legal department to mention that this was investigated and dropped by the Biden Justice Department. And these are, fabricated fake smears, and you guys keep perpetuating them. And I promise you they'll be back at it again today, because I don't think ABC actually means it. They're just another engorged appendage on the Democrat Party's body politic. Chris here with a list of things that none of us should trust. The Washington Post, the New York Times, anything on CNN. Here's a list of things that I do trust. The Washington Times. Support real journalism for just $1 a week at WashingtonTimes.com/Chris. Let's go to the telephones, Michael. Let's go to Valerie calling from Chicago, Illinois, listening on the great WLS. Valerie, you're on the Chris Plant Show.
Hello, Chris. Long time no speak. I'm the truck driver in Chicago that salutes you with a double honk at red lights.
Most excellent. That is outstanding.
I have a question for you. A bunch of my friends and my family, my mom especially, we listen to you guys all the time, and we're kind of wondering what your opinion might be on what Barbara Walters would think about what her show has turned into.
The View? Baba Wawa?
Yeah.
What her show is turned into?
Baba Wawa.
We were talking about that this morning. They also used to have Rosie O'Donnell on the show. So they had Rosie and Joy and Whoopi and Happy, and they're all miserable, horrible. What would Baba Wawa think? I'd like to think that Baba Wawa was more civilized than all of this, wouldn't you?
I do. I was young when Barbara Walters was on. I was a lot younger. And when she was on, was that 60 Minutes?
No, it was an ABC show, 2020, I think it was.
2020. Okay. I just remember that she used to ask good questions, and she used to kind of be open-minded to both sides of the story.
Yeah. Well, I think that's true. I think that's back when the media was just liberal and not leftist. Now they're leftists, and leftists are here to destroy the world and everyone in it.
Rosie, big, fat, lesbian, loud Rosie.
Ah, yes, the Democrats, they hate the Jews. Even their Jews hate the Jews. What's going on with that? That's the kind of sway they have over people. Cultural dominance, information dominance, like an invading army. Vladimir Putin talking World War III and talking about using nuclear weapons because Joe Biden is a horrible leader. Terrible. But in Washington, D.C., we're leading. We're number 2 anyway. Fox 5 D.C., the local news station, which, as you might imagine, is on Channel 5, and it's the Fox channel. D.C., that's the District of Columbia, our nation's capital. D.C. has second highest weed consumption in U.S., a new study finds. They've got a study. You got to believe it because there's a study. And when there's a study, you have to go with it. So D.C. has second highest weed consumption in the U.S., in the United States of America. A new study shows Washington, D.C. has the second most weed consumers in the country, outpacing early adopters to recreational marijuana, including Colorado. Colorado ain't got nothing on us, Rocky Mountain High. Data from the Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Administration. Every Democrat should be forced to go walk through their doors. Shows that 33% of adults in D.C. use marijuana for recreational and medical purposes. Research for the study was conducted by personal injury attorneys Siegfried and Jensen, not Siegfried and Roy, which is they whip tigers, something like that. They used to anyway. That's second only D.C., second only to Vermont, which is Bernie Sanders' home territory, right? With a reported 34.37% of adults using marijuana in 2022. Now, that's 34.3, and D.C. is 33. We're competitive. I've got to say we're doing pretty well there. Everywhere you walk in D.C., you can smell pot. Day, night, schools, restaurants, everywhere you go, it smells like pot. There are pot stores everywhere, but they're trick pot stores because they even screwed that up. And let me say, there are people smoking pot everywhere, and I know plenty of people that smoke pot every day or not every day, every week, whatever. But I know lots of people in D.C. that smoke pot and people not in D.C. that smoke pot too. But that's another discussion. So Vermont, with the most number, the greatest percentage at least of pot smokers, Vermont legalized medical cannabis in 2004 and recreational cannabis in 2018. Also topping the lists, unsurprisingly, Oregon, Alaska, the state of Washington, a state where residents use marijuana the least. Take a wild guess. Alabama. Alabama is the state where people use marijuana the least, with only 13.89% of adults using cannabis in 2022. And then in Washington, D.C., in 2014, the Democrats here passed Initiative 71, which says that possessing a small amount of marijuana is legal in the District of Columbia for adults. What isn't legal is consuming marijuana in public or selling marijuana to another person. See, now this is where it gets really tricky. So there are stores all over D.C. where you can walk in and buy pot, right? But it's illegal. So how does that work? Well, capitalism found a way because capitalists are a crafty people. D.C. does not have a recreational marijuana marketplace where weed smokers can legally buy marijuana. So what happened is entrepreneurs set up what they call D.C. gift shops or gifting shops to skirt around the rules by creating a black market where recreational marijuana consumers can buy a product or service like a T-shirt or a workout plan and be gifted marijuana from their purchase. I've talked about this before. There are stores in Washington where you can walk in like an Adams Morgan, and you can a neighborhood, and you can walk in and you can buy a $500 T-shirt, right? Some dumb made in China by slave labor T-shirt that says something idiotic on it that you'll probably never wear, and you can buy $500 T-shirt and they'll give you an ounce of pot that they'll tell you is valued at $500. Or you can buy the same T-shirt for $250, and they'll give you a half ounce of pot. See, but it's the same T-shirt. But the deal is you just bought a really expensive T-shirt, and then as a gift, the store owners and operators give you a gift of marijuana because that's how that works. These gifting shops have faced crackdowns in recent months, with multiple shops raided and shut down by D.C. police and officials from the Alcohol, Beverage, and Cannabis Administration, the ABCA. You got the ABCA now, because that's the thing. But in any case, D.C., yeah, we're number 2. We're number 2.
This is live TV. There is a lot going on right now, and I'm at Mission ABR. Woo, is that weed? Oh, my goodness.
Oh, my goodness. And honestly, everywhere you go in D.C., you see it, you smell it. It's not considered to be a big deal. I mean, it's not. I don't think you should be thrown into handcuffs and dragged away from smoking pot. But I've said, for decades, California pretty much had it right. Going back to the 1970s, certainly the 1980s, if you're found with pot in public and smoking pot, they would write you a ticket, like a traffic ticket. And I think it was for $100. And that served to, generally speaking, keep it indoors. Now, it keeps the underground market alive, which gets tricky, but never mind that. So we're number 2, D.C. We got that going for us. All right, the Democrats hate the Jews. The Democrats hate, who else do they hate? They hate everybody. They hate straight people. They hate manly men who they say are toxic masculinity, because they love transgender people, because they've got a lot of sexual issues and a lot of mental issues. And now they have a Democrat member of the House of Representatives and the Congress of the United States of America who is a man dressing as a woman, and Nancy Mace is fighting that, and there's a lot to get to. I've got some of that audio coming up, as a matter of fact, and we still have, of course, the mailbag today, the mailbag. All right, now let's go to the telephones. Let's go to it's line number 5. Let's go to Frank, calling from Elmwood Park, Illinois, listening on the great WLS. Frank, you're on the Chris Plant Show.
What's going on, Chris? How's it going?
Pretty good. How about you?
Can't complain. The weather's not, it's getting a little colder, but, this is Chicago, Elmwood Park area.
Yeah.
Every year, same thing.
It's going to get colder.
You just talked about, oh, no, it is. I mean, we're used to it.
Yeah.
But right now, you just talked about the weed users here with you over in Washington, D.C.
Yeah.
But do you know that the top 3 states with the highest overdose mortality rates are all southern states? Kentucky, Louisiana, Arkansas. All that fentanyl is in the South. You know what I mean?
Well, not all of it.
Weed is the least of our problems.
I can assure you.
Weed is the least.
I can assure you it's not all in the South, because we have more than 100,000 fatal drug overdoses in the United States every year. And, Frank, I would say the Democrats should probably secure our southern border than to start coping with that, wouldn't you say?
Yes and no. We are the cause of all this, our citizens. You know how you can stop all this crime, all this drug use and everything?
Kill all the people?
The number 1 consumer in the world of drugs stops using them, which is us.
Yeah.
We are the cause of all this.
Well,
the drug cartels are not forcing us to take these drugs. We are the cause of all the crime, all the violence, everything. It's the American citizen. Mm-hmm. We are the ones taking all these drugs. Nobody's forcing us to take these drugs. Mm-hmm. Am I wrong?
Well, before you're addicted,
blaming McDonald's for
don't just talk over everything now.
McDonald's, but it's like blaming McDonald's for us being obese.
Well,
McDonald's is not shoving food down our throats. Us to eating all that food.
Yeah. Do you think we should?
The wrong people.
You just never stop. Are you doing fentanyl? Are you doing cocaine? You sound a little spun up today. But
absolutely not.
Here's the thing. It's true. People become addicted to drugs. I know that you understand that and appreciate that. And I love how you're a Democrat, so you try to politicize it by saying Kentucky, Louisiana.
No, I'm not.
And Arkansas.
I'm not. Absolutely not.
And Arkansas are the bad guys because they have more fatal drug overdoses, which, again, I think that if the Democrats wanted to control the drug epidemic in the United States, that we'd start by controlling our southern border and also by aggressively taking on the cartels in Mexico and beyond, because they're causing a great deal of mayhem and havoc and death and more than 100,000 fatal drug overdoses in the United States in a typical year now. And I think that we should be confronting that. But that's me. It's
supply and demand. It's a supply and demand industry.
Well, that's not untrue. That's not untrue. What you're saying is not untrue, but you still have to fight that because kids are growing up in a society where it's perfectly normal for people to be. And also, when you say pot's no big deal, pot is, it's not a gateway drug to every other drug, except everybody that does LSD or heroin or fentanyl every day started out smoking pot, right?
Everyone? Every single person. I smoked pot 3-4 times in my life, and I never had done cocaine, fentanyl, opiates, nothing like that. It did not push me to do any other drug.
Was the last time you smoked pot about 20 minutes ago?
No, pot slows you down. It doesn't make you hype.
That's true. That's true. That's
a
fair
downer.
Point. Well,
it's a downer, not an upper. Everyone knows that.
Well, you could be doing sativa, smoking sativa instead of indica, but that's another discussion for another day. But when you called in, you were talking to Jeff. I think you were saying, hey, Chris, why do you call all Democrats Jew haters?
Yes. I'm curious. I mean, there's 37 members in Congress right now that are Jewish, and 34 are Democrats. So they hate their own people?
Yes.
There's only 2 Republicans that are Jewish.
In
only
Congress?
2 out of the 37. Yes.
Okay. All right. Well, that's interesting and irrelevant at the same time. Now, I mean, look, I just read, Frank, the study that 72% of Jews feel unsafe on college campuses in the United States of America. That's kind of an alarming number, isn't it? 72% of Jewish students on college campuses feel unwelcome and unsafe on campus. 52% have been targets of anti-Semitism. These are hotbeds of what they would say are liberalism. And they're really, I say, they're leftists and not liberals, Frank, because there's a big difference. Leftists aren't liberal at all. They're the most illiberal, anti-liberal people you're going to find anywhere. But I got to tell you, Frank, when you see chanting from the river to the sea about wiping Israel off the map on college campuses, we just played the audio of Claudine Gay, the now former president of Harvard University, who, by the way, is still there as a professor making $900,000 a year to not teach a course at Harvard. Go ahead and send your kids to Harvard. You're paying for this. But you see it, Frank, on college campuses. You see it in the streets of Washington. You see anti-Semitism everywhere. I've never seen it like this at any point in my lifetime, like we have it right now. They're anti-Israel, and that's the only Jewish state on the planet. And they're teaching college students to chant in mobs from the river to the sea about wiping Israel off the face of the earth. They're terrorizing Jewish students on campus and the professors and the staff, too, by the way. So, yeah, the Democrat Party has an anti-Semitism problem, don't they, Frank? Frank dropped. He didn't. He ran away. Run away. All right. Gosh, it's 48 minutes after. I can't believe that. That's completely crazy. The clock just gets away from me every day because of all the crazy, crazy stuff. I've got a bunch of Democrat Party media. What's the difference? Craziness, anti-Republican, anti-Trump picks for the cabinet. And I do have kind of a macro question. How do you have a civilized country when the Democrat Party, Frank, has turned the rhetoric not just to 11, but to 111 with crazy talk that everybody who's not them is a Nazi, a fascist, wants to kill your children, wants to set up gulags and throw you in prison. And honestly, they're once again, I think, projecting their own left-wing sensibilities and trying to indict their political enemies, which is the way they describe us, for being guilty of what they are actually doing, the old Russian playbook. But I've got that coming up. Now, Frank, you keep on thinking. Maybe you should start smoking pot again, because there's a lot to talk about out there. You know that the all-new third-generation Eden Pure Thunderstorm air purifier is finally here. It builds on the incredible success of previous generation models, and they earned thousands of five-star reviews on Al Gore's amazing internet because they work so great, and they instantly became a bestseller. This new Eden Pure Thunderstorm uses 2 different technologies that studies have shown help to kill up to 99.9% of bacteria in the air and viruses. Also removes dust and pet stuff and smoke, all kinds of smoke from the air, and it helps get rid of any odor. No filters to replace over and over again either, which is really nice. You can hold one in your hand. They're only this big. The Thunderstorm will help get rid of any stinky smell, guaranteed. Trash cans, smelly shoes, garbage cans, left-wing protesters. Even Michael Moore is no match for the Eden Pure Thunderstorm. His smell will disappear in just a few seconds with the Thunderstorm being on. And right now, you can save $200 American on an Eden Pure Thunderstorm 3-pack for whole home protection. You can put one in your basement, your teenager's room, any place you like to breathe clean, fresh air. All you have to do is go to EdenPureDeals.com and use the discount code Chris3 to save $200 on 3 Thunderstorms. You can make one a gift. Christmas is coming. That's EdenPureDeals.com. The discount code is Chris3. All right, we got lots of crazy Democrats and media, but I repeat myself. And we have the mailbag because it's Wednesday. That means it's mailbag day. Ah, yes. And I have the mailbag ahead, and I have media haters doing what haters do, and that is hating. Always with a political bent, if you will. But let's go back to the telephone. I'm going to a lot of phone calls, which is good because sometimes I don't. But let's go to Dennis calling from beautiful South Dakota. Dennis, you're on the Chris Plant Show.
Chris, how are you?
I'm just great, Dennis. Thank you.
Hello.
Yes, sir. Gotcha.
Yeah, I don't know what part of South Dakota is beautiful, but it's definitely not where I'm at right now. It's probably 40-mile-an-hour winds with snow.
Snowing and windy in South Dakota.
Yeah, can you believe it? So anyways, I was on November 17th, I was telling your call screener, I got, first off, I was a Marine Scout sniper, 07 to 11, deployed to Iraq and Afghanistan, and then that's only tangentially related here. But I got pulled over. You're talking about marijuana. I got pulled over in South Dakota, minor traffic. I was just going a little fast coming into a small town, and then got pulled over, searched vehicle, and then I got handcuffed and taken to jail for, we're talking like 2 grams, less than an eighth. Anything, just a couple grams of pot. I got taken to jail. I'm facing a year in jail, literally taken to jail, had to get bonded out. And so that was on November 17th, just a few days ago. And then November 17th, 2009, that was also just an anniversary for me. I remember it, as most vets do, I suppose. But I was a Marine Scout sniper. That was the first time I shot somebody. Just shot somebody a few times, killed them. And then November 17th, 2024, that's the day I became the enemy of the state of South Dakota. Like I say, now I'm facing a year in jail for a couple grams of pot, saying, whatever you want to round it to, about 20% of the country, if you want to say it, something like that, says they smoke pot daily or on the week or whatever.
Right.
It's a non-crime in half the state or in half the country. It's a non-crime.
Right.
And in South Dakota, they're still attempting to ruin lives, even though it's on the verge of.
Yeah, national legalization. I'm against jail for that.